Hello and welcome to Lamplighter. Today is April 26. Today we continue in our daily Bible reading to read some of the Psalms that are recorded in our Bibles, many of which are recorded by David himself, a man after God's heart. Today we move into a new grouping of Psalms. This group of Psalms is entitled Psalms about Righteousness and Wickedness. And these Psalms, though they are longer than the Proverbs, do a similar thing as the Proverbs, and that is they contrast one thing against another, here primarily righteousness versus wickedness. Now, the reason that the writers want to write about these topics is because in their day, just as in our day today, it sometimes seems that those who are wicked are prospering more than those who are righteous. It also seems that those who are wicked are somehow escaping judgment or escaping punishment for their evil deeds, and it just seems so unfair. And there is much written about that. The question that's being asked by some of these Psalms is this: is it enough for the righteous to know that they are doing God's will? It's a question we even must ask ourselves today. Is it enough for me to know that I'm doing God's will, even when it appears that wicked people are prospering around me? That's been a question for the ages. Let's see how the psalmists deal with this. We begin with Psalm 1, maybe one of the most familiar of the Psalms. This is one that's a psalm of vitality of righteousness and vulnerability of the wicked. And I'd like for us to just reread it together. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of mockers, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever he does prospers. Not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind blows away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. So we see that contrast between righteousness and wickedness. And here we see that the Lord is watching all of these things, and the promise is that ultimately the righteous will be rewarded and the wicked will be punished. We move on to Psalm 14, which describes the foolishness of disbelief and the misery of evildoers. It's in this psalm that we read those familiar words, "The fool says in his heart, there is no God." It reminds me of one of my favorite New Testament passages in Hebrews 11, verse 6, where the writer says, without faith, it is impossible to please God. We must believe that he is and that he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. A fool says in his heart, there is no God, the psalmist says. Without faith, it's impossible to please God, the Hebrews writer says. Basically, they're saying the same thing. Then whenever we read some excerpts from this psalm at the bottom of page 521, the Lord looks down from heaven on the sons of men to see if there are any who understand, any who seek God. Remember the passage in Hebrews, he rewards those who diligently seek him. God is looking down from heaven to find out if anybody is seeking him. And then notice this last line here on the bottom of page 521. There is no one who does good, no, not one. We are all sinners. We have all fallen short of the glory of God. Let's move on to Psalm 15, because here in Psalm 15, you see the characteristics of a righteous person being outlined for us. In fact, the entire psalm talks about what righteousness actually looks like. Lord, who may dwell in your sanctuary? Who may live on your holy hill? He whose walk is blameless and who does what is righteous, who speaks the truth from his heart and has no slander on his tongue, who does his neighbor no wrong and casts no slur on his fellow man, who despises a vile man, but honors those who fear the Lord, who keeps his oath even when it hurts, who lends his money without usury, and does not accept a bribe against the innocent. He who does these things will never be shaken. We can read Psalm 15 and measure it against ourselves to see how we're doing. Are we truly righteous people, at least as described by this psalm? Psalm 36 describes the depravity of the wicked and the favor of the righteous. In this psalm, there is a description of the wicked that says this: there is no fear of God before his eyes, for in his own eyes he flatters himself too much to detect or hate his own sin. Those who are wicked, the psalmist says, are so consumed by themselves and by their own wickedness, they don't even notice. They can't even detect the fact that they themselves are wicked, that they are sinners. And I love this statement in this psalm: how priceless is your unfailing love. There is no value that can be placed on God's unfailing love. It is a value beyond measure. How priceless is your unfailing love. Psalm 37, we read about the righteous poor who have no cause to envy the wicked. And I want to read a few excerpts from this one, because here is great advice for us if we seek to be righteous. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will do this. He will make your righteousness shine like the dawn, the justice of your cause like the noonday sun. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when men succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes. Refrain from anger and turn from wrath. Do not fret, it leads only to evil. For evil men will be cut off, but those who hope in the Lord will inherit the land. A little while and the wicked will be no more. Though you look for them, they will not be found. But the meek will inherit the land and enjoy great peace. Those are some great tips, some great advice, even for us today. As we turn the page to 524, we continue to read about the middle of the page. If the Lord delights in a man's way, he makes his steps firm. Though he stumble, he will not fall, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. I was young, and now I am old. Listen to this. The psalmist says, I was young, and now I am old, yet I have never seen the righteous forsaken, or their children begging bread. They are always generous and lend freely. Their children will be blessed. Turn from evil and do good. Then you will dwell in the land forever. For the Lord loves the just and will not forsake his faithful ones. Remember, God always says, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. Consider the blameless. Observe the upright. There is a future for the man of peace. But all sinners will be destroyed. The future of the wicked will be cut off. The salvation of the righteous comes from the Lord. He is their stronghold in time of trouble. So don't give up. Continue to strive for righteousness. And then finally today we read Psalm 39, difficulty withholding outrage, a reminder of life's brevity. And I love this little section. Show me, O Lord, my life's end and the number of my days. Let me know how fleeting is my life. You've made my days a mere handbreadth. The span of my years is as nothing before you. Each man's life is but a breath. Life is so brief. It is just a small spot on the time span of eternity. And the question is, how will we spend that brief life? Will we be righteous people? Will we give God all that we have? Isn't it great to be a lamplighter? His word is a lamp to our feet and a light to our path. I hope you have a blessed day.